Death becomes her. Why did 19th century aristocrats dream of contracting tuberculosis? And why did the beauties of the Victorian era poison themselves with arsenic and lead? A deathly pallor is beautiful. This was the belief not only of 19th century aristocrats, but also of the ancient Egyptians. In their tombs, archaeologists have repeatedly found clay jars with various facial products. This was mostly powder made from dry white clay, chalk, dried crocodile dung, and mother of pearl. The Egyptians' formula was perfected by the Greeks, who added lead to their chalk-based powder. It caused a wide range of health problems, starting with the skin itself, various ulcers, and extending to hair and tooth loss, and moreover, damage to the lungs. An extremely high level of lead was also found when examining the remains of Japanese samurai. They applied makeup to frighten their enemies. In contrast, Asian beauties applied rice powder to their faces to attract admirers. The layer of makeup was so thick that their facial muscles would go numb. Mobility was restored by rubbing the skin with a silk scarf. Fair skin continued to gain popularity in the Middle Ages, driven by the developing cult of the Virgin Mary. Images of a fair-skinned Virgin Mary with large almond-shaped eyes or light hair became very fashionable. Women continued to use these lead-based whiteners, applying them to their skin, which took a severe toll on their health. During the Renaissance, other substances came into use for skin whitening. They were, however, no less toxic: arsenic and mercury. This potent concoction made the skin painfully white and as thin as paper. But this didn't deter the beauties of the time. On the contrary, they would even draw faint blue veins over their makeup to further emphasize their sickly and, as they saw it, refined appearance. Both mercury and arsenic are highly toxic. Have you heard the expression "mad as a hatter"? The fact is, mercury was used in the processing of felt in the 19th century. Chronic poisoning from its fumes causes confusion, emotional instability, and progressive dementia. It begins with hand tremors, excessive salivation, and hallucinations. The beauties poisoned by mercury and arsenic rarely lived to see 30, but few were concerned. Beauty was valued more than health. This widespread madness reached its peak in the second half of the 19th century when tuberculosis came into fashion. It was believed that the disease only affected bohemians, creative and romantic people. Those who contracted consumption rapidly lost weight, developed a bluish-white complexion and an unhealthy flush, and became the beauty ideal of the time. Even people who were healthy would pretend to be sick because it was a symbol of a certain aristocraticism, a kind of decadence, a unique form of protest, perhaps, against the realities of life at the time. It was a way to present oneself as privileged, special, and different from others. In the 19th century, tuberculosis killed about a quarter of Europe's adult population. The realization that the disease should be treated, not idolized, came in 1882, when the German physician and microbiologist Robert Koch discovered the bacterium, the causative agent of tuberculosis. Upon learning that the disease was highly contagious and affected everyone indiscriminately, aristocrats lost interest. Tuberculosis chic finally went out of style. Soon, pale skin also ceased to be the ultimate dream, a shift aided by several scientific discoveries. In 1890, physician Theobald Palm discovered that sunlight has a beneficial effect on bone development and the human body. A year later, John Kellogg created a special lamp that produced the same solar effect. In 1903, Danish physician and scientist Niels Finsen received the Nobel Prize for inventing phototherapy. He proved its effectiveness in treating diseases like rickets and tuberculosis. That same year, Swiss doctor Auguste Rollier opened a clinic where he treated patients for nervous disorders with diet therapy and sunbathing. The doctor insisted, "Where there is sun, there is no need for medics." But perhaps the greatest contribution to popularizing the tan was made by Coco Chanel. In 1923, after a cruise on the Mediterranean Sea, she returned and stunned everyone with her bronze tan. She looked like a little statuette. This became hugely popular and was very much in the spirit of her revolutionary fashion, a style of simplicity, openness, and the freedom to feel comfortable in one's clothes. A tan, better than anything, reflected this entire trend. Following Chanel's lead, nearly all the fashion-conscious men and women of Europe and the US began to tan. However, the swimwear of that era was completely unsuitable for sunbathing. People had to roll up the edges to minimize white tan lines. The problem was solved by French designer Louis Réard. He invented the bikini, a very revealing swimsuit. The presentation of the bikini caused a real scandal. The new item was condemned by the Catholic Church, which forbade women from wearing the devilish attire. But this didn't scare Louis Réard. The bikini was advertised as a swimsuit that tells you everything about a girl except her mother's maiden name. Gradually, the fashion for tanning conquered the world. Now golden skin, not Snow White, came to be seen as a sign of elite status and aristocracy. In the early 1970s, German scientist Friedrich Wolff noticed that skin begins to darken from exposure to artificial ultraviolet rays. Soon, together with his brother Jörg Wolff, he founded a company that manufactured tanning beds and produced the lamps for them. Self-tanning lotions appeared. Chocolate-colored skin was at the peak of popularity. Even the 1970s Barbie doll had snow white hair and tan skin. The dangers of tanning were not considered until the 1980s, when melanoma mortality rates in the US rose sharply. Doctors determined that skin cancer is caused by solar radiation. Medics worldwide began to warn about the dangers of excessive sun exposure. The popularity of tanning began to wane, and gradually now in the 21st century, the boom in extreme tanning is fading. Not completely gone, perhaps, but today a healthy lifestyle has become paramount, emphasizing moderation in all things. That includes tanning. Consequently, a vast number of sun protection products began to be released, with high UV or SPF effect. And the higher the effect protecting the skin from these ultraviolet rays, the more popular the product becomes. However, even in the 21st century, some ardent tan fans ignore information about its dangers. This is Patricia Krenschel, known as the most tanned woman in the world. She visits the tanning salon as if it were her job and doesn't believe it harms her health. Meanwhile, doctors are convinced that Patricia has developed tannorexia, a psychological addiction to ultraviolet rays.